Peekaboo suckers, what's going on, yo? JT, we about to get this show started. It's too hot, too early for this stuff, man. But let's go. Yo, what up, 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 what up? I'm up. What up? I'm up. I'm up. Good morning, y'all. Cheers. It is the TSA Hoop Show. I am your host, JR. Thank you and good morning to all of you that have managed to get up and be on the show. Take a break from hopefully a lot of either fantasy drafting if you're gearing up for football season, or your Olympics watch, because that is hot and full effect right now. We've already had, this is crazy, we already had a medal match, China, US, and I forget who the bronze was. We already have medals on board right now. It is Saturday, local time here from sunny San Diego, 7:30 in the morning. I don't know what time it is wherever you're at. And we're getting going. You guys, hey, be sure to chat with us about Olympics talk during this whole time. I mean, we're going to be focusing primarily on Olympics basketball today. We're going to be talking about some betting. We're going to recap a couple games that have happened so far for Olympic basketball. But if you guys have any other Olympic sports you guys want to jump on, I am more than happy to talk about that. Whoever your mother country is, whatever country you're rooting for, any stories you guys want to bring to the table, I would love to share those here on the Sports Affiliations TSA Hoop Show. Man, I was just recapping the first two games so far, and let me tell you right now, I know this past Sunday, with the title of the show was USA 1 week till gold, maybe, and that maybe part is getting bigger and bigger and bigger because I know recency bias, the games against the exhibition games versus South Sudan and Serbia were, well, not Serbia, Germany. I know that those last two games were like, oh, we needed LeBron James, and they needed LeBron James to help us figure it out, get that win. And I know some of us are like, oh, we really didn't need. Yeah, Iggy, it's time for the hoodie today. Yeah, I brought the hoodie out today. I'll explain that in a second. I know it is absolutely one of those things where it's like, oh, we didn't need that win because it's an exhibition game. But don't forget that these exhibition games are tune-ups and adjustments for teams to make, especially the United States, against these threats. And I just recapped Australia. I just rewatched Australia and Spain, and three big things. Okay, before we get well into everything, there's three things that you guys got to understand. The NBA is about 65% of the players in the pools right now. Okay, so of all the countries that you have going, a lot of these guys are NBA talent. That's the first thing. The second thing is that because of the way that the game is being played for these Olympics, you are getting a lot more physicality and a lot more speed. So you're not getting teams that are using the full 24 seconds of the shot clock. You're not seeing a lot more teams that are doing heavy half court sets. There's a lot of like blitz attacks and speed. And so that's increasing the amount of defended plays. You're seeing a lot more, I don't want to say call them empty baskets, but teams are basically valuing their shot selection a lot more. So it's a lot of like different things that you won't normally see in the NBA. The last thing, and I'm going to say this right now, the world did not, the whole thing about the world versus the United States as far as hoops is concerned, as far as the team, the United States versus the world, I can kind of see that. But the only reason why the world is catching up to the United States is because the United States has such heavy influence on hoops in the world. Rising tide raises all ships. So, okay. Let's recap this Australia versus Spain game, which was the first game at 2 a.m. local time, my time. I didn't stay up to watch that game. I got up a little while ago to rewatch this game. And again, if you guys are just tuning in, this is the TSA Hoop Show. We are going over all things Olympics, and we're doing some bets, baby. We're laying some money down today. So check it out. We got Team Australia, which still features Joel Ingles and Patty Mills. Now Josh Giddey on there, who of course we all know was part of that nice little trade between OKC and Chicago. One of the leading scorers for Team Australia. And on the other side, you got Spain, who still features Rudy Fernandez. You got Juancho Herman Gomez, who most of you guys know from that Adam Sandler movie, where was Herman Gomez versus Anthony Edwards character. And you got a guy, Santi Aldama. If you guys are familiar with him, I'm sure Lakers fans know that name very well. Him being one of the members of the Memphis Grizzlies team who thought they were going to give us problems before Ja went down with that injury. So those are just three names, just three to speak of. But I mean, you still have on the Australian side, you still have like 4 or 5 guys at least on the starters, and then they go 3 deep with NBA talent. Spain, that talent goes deep, and Australia took that game away early on this morning. It was by far a very physical game. The teams were jawing at each other. They were coming off the benches, like about to scrap in the first half. There were words being said by coaches in pure plain English, cursing out the refs on live. It was almost like an NBA game. I think that you guys need to tune in or at least rewatch some of these games that you don't think are going to be that important. And I'm going to get to a couple of those that are coming up a little bit later today. In fact, as we are going through towards the end of this show, we're going to talk about one game that's going to be, again, near and dear to my heart. We'll get to that in a second. But already Group A teams and Group B teams are squaring off today. The first Group A game, of course, I just said Australia versus Spain. Australia taking those first 3 points in group play for the win versus Spain. And that's the group that we mentioned with, let's go ahead and recap this here of the 4 teams in that group. That's Australia, Spain, and then we're getting the other 2 right now, and Greece and Canada. Australia, Spain, Greece, and Canada. And any one of those 4 teams could be a very, 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 very strong team. Hot takes up here. George up here throwing jokes. For those of you who don't know, I went and decided to get an edge up because I got an event happening. Basically, the event for me starts tomorrow. So this is why we're doing the show today instead of traditionally how we run it on Sundays early at this time, because I will be out of town. And we'll talk about that later on. But Wonder why I didn't get a South Side fade. Well, my head isn't built for that, nor is my soul. And I don't want you guys tuning into this episode today because my head would look like a gold medal or bronze medal. Yeah, more bronze. So yeah, I for all of that. But but yeah, out of the group A, it's going to be a dogfight. And the game of Australia versus Spain, if that game was indicative of how the rest of the games are going to go for the entire men's Olympics, the U.S. is in for a dogfight. Simply because not just the two that come out of that group or group A, it's that may give the U.S. some trouble. It's however the matchups are going to be. Right now, we can definitely see out of Australia that Josh Giddey and Joel Ingles are their biggest guys, two of their biggest guys on the team. So Josh Giddey's going to be playing a lot of like point forward. Of course, Giddey is one of their big scorers, and he's one of the younger guys on the team. So him and his experience and his flexibility are going to be a huge asset to this Australian team that is very familiar to the rest of us that have been watching FIBA, that have been watching previous Olympics. A lot of these guys are some of the same guys, stronger, smarter, faster. And based on the international play, the way they play, Australia is a very physical team, which would match up very well with some of these other teams in these other groups. Sometimes that a team like the U.S. plays a little bit more finesse, stop and pop, plays a little bit quick. You got to get guys that can play downhill and bang inside. And some of these guys don't want to do that, and Australia loves to do that. And you saw a lot of that in the game versus Spain today. Spain doing a lot more jump shooting, and that being the difference in between why Australia won and why Spain lost. I think that the more physical team is going to win that group out. But let's put that game on pause since we rang that out to dry, and let's flip over to this first Group B game today, which was Germany versus Japan. Now, for those who don't know, Japan features two well-known NBA players in Yuta Watanabe, who was known for a little bit while his days in Brooklyn, and then he moved over to a different team, and he's a really great sharpshooter. And of course, our home favorite, at least our as in Lakers fans, Rui Hachimura. You go down the stats lines and you look and you try to figure out, if you haven't watched this game, if you look at it from a straight stats perspective and you wonder what happened during this game, experience won out. That's from the stat line. But when you watch the game, there are two things that are happening right now. This team features a couple of older veterans for their captain for Japan, and a couple of their guards. It was heavy in the turnover game for Japan, which is something that you can't do because, I mentioned a little bit earlier, possessions are gold. No pun intended. Possessions are gold for this entire basketball. In order to reach gold, you have to be able to take care of the ball. And Japan was just doing a lot of that. And it could be, again, you're looking at trying to knock off essentially the champions in Germany right now. These guys are younger, they're physical, they are fast, and without that really big inside presence to go up against the Wagner twins, you would think that the rebounding margin would be very wide, but Japan actually managed to keep up in the rebounding sense and had a higher second chance total over Germany. But it was just that turning those turnovers into points, getting great backcourt play from Germany, which resulted in essentially it was a double-digit beat by Germany over Japan. So that Group B, now Germany is in the lead for that group. And if you guys ever want updates, you can always tune into the X profile at 4F Apollo. Follow me, JR. I'll be posting up a lot of results. And that's basically it for the recap. Previewing today's games for Group A, First one is Greece versus Canada. Actually, sorry, the first game that's coming up, it's going to be at 8:15 our time here in San Diego, and you can add it whatever time it is. It's Pacific Standard Time here. Is going to be France versus Brazil, and so France is the other team that everyone understands as being somewhat stacked. We're just going to go ahead and run through the let's go ahead and just run through what the lineup is going, what the lineups are for each team. Of course, France featuring, I'm just going to go ahead and go back like that. Okay. Tell me if some of these names are familiar for France. Victor Wembanyama, Rudy Gobert, Evan Fournier, Nicolas Batum, Frank, and I keep getting this wrong, and I believe it's Intukinya, but we're going to go back and we're going to do the audit of the show so that we can get the pronunciations right. But that's 5 NBA players already, okay, on this France team who's featuring a very tall team, utilizing some of their players in a very interesting way. Again, these exhibition games could say a lot, might not say a lot. France didn't go completely unbeaten. They had a couple of losses, but they were featuring Wemby as a point forward. They weren't completely playing him in all spots. Pulled him early in a couple of games. Versus Canada, versus Brazil, which you guys may not recognize some of the names, but if you have been following Brazil's Olympic team for the past 4 years, you would know some of these names. One of which is Joao Cardoso. Big name in the circuit as far as playing in FIBA and for teams in Brazil. And then their captain, Marcelinho Huertas, who has seen some NBA time, one of their older players for Team Brazil. And Brazil is one of the teams that one of the 4 that qualified. They play fast. They play a little aggressive. And that could play into their favor with France being a, and I want to get this right, of what the point differential is for this game, because we're going to be talking bets in a second. And I just want to say that I think that we're a little bit, yeah, 9.5 point favorites right now for Brazil. I'm going to be a homer in this one. I'm taking Brazil in this game. If you guys are laying any lines, laying any plays down today, only because there's always a chance in the round robin play that a team can sneak up on you and take your win points from you. Don't forget that basically you don't have to beat every team, but you have to get enough wins to get you out of the group, and then you can start rolling on. I think this is the one game that Brazil can try to basically get on the table, because this group in Group B is super packed and super stacked as well. Again, we talked about the early game of Japan versus Germany. This is the second game, Brazil versus France. And while France, it's like Germany or France, Brazil could be that third team just physically to kind of sneak in there, snatch some points from either Germany, or France. They could take it from one of those two teams, sneak in, get enough points, and maybe sneak into the quarterfinals for this Olympics. We don't know. We're gonna get back to that game because we're gonna talk about some betting in a second. Second game of the day, again, is going to be Greece versus Canada, which is going to be a little bit later on in the day. That game tips off at locally noon. So take that time and then add or subtract whatever time it is for you. And that's going to be a great time, at least as far as the Saturday day. It's going to be more like a college football game. Should be a lot of excitement around it. Greece is another team that, of course, qualified for these Olympics through the qualifying matches. They went through Slovenia, and we all know that game versus Luca. And in order to get to these games, they are in, again, a Group A that is absolutely a monster, a beast. We all know what Giannis Antetokounmpo can do. We all know that the team basically falls behind him, and it's backcourt versus front court in a Canadian team that features some of the best backcourt players in the NBA. Not like in this group, not in this Olympic tournament, but in the NBA. In SGA, who was essentially third for MVP voting in the NBA. You got Jamal Murray, who is an NBA champion. You got defensive presence from guys like Lou Dort. The list goes on. And in fact, let's just go ahead and break that game down too, because you guys want to know what you're going to be up against and who you want to place your bets on. And by the way, I'm picking Greece for that game because I'm wondering if Canada is going to get a little cute with that. Yes. Thank you, George. RJ Barrett, we need to just get you back on here, man, so you can just go ahead and talk about all your Knicks that are playing in this Olympics right now. RJ Barrett, of course, the other player on Team Canada. But we got honestly, it's just Giannis, and for knowledge of who's playing for Team Greece, it's Giannis and crew. Don't want to actually take away from the fact that this team features a lot of big guys, and the only one that's listed as a center on Team Greece is Papagiannis. Georgios Papagiannis, who is standing at a very nice 7'1". There's some big dudes out here, okay? So Giannis is listed as a forward. It's going to be a question of how well that interior play is going to do, and how many times that they can stop guys like SGA from getting to the rim. Because 3-point shooting, when you're adjusting for that ball from the NBA ball, and my elbow is already flared out, so you can see that my shooting form is poor. But that ball is completely different coming off the fingertips. And if you're not hitting, again, possessions are key. You got to be able to hit when you're coming down. On Team Canada, we're just going to go ahead and go through the list. Lou Dort, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Did not know that he was Canadian. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jamal Murray, Dwight Powell, Trey Lyles, RJ Barrett, Kelly Olynyk. Kelly Olynyk's the captain, y'all. Kelly Olynyk's the captain. I don't know how we pick captains, but Kelly Olynyk is the captain. Andrew Nembhard, Dylan Brooks. This is the NBA team. This is an all NBA team. So the adjustments are going to be absolutely crazy, because you have a team in Greece who has played together a lot. These are some of the best players in Greece that are playing together, that have been on this team for years. Giannis has played and looked up to some of these dudes. He played with these guys as a team. So this Greece team it's not just front court, back court. It's going to be youth and talent versus experience. And for a lot of these games, experience wins out, because the way that you take advantage of the rules, of the way that you know how fouls are being drawn, all that kind of stuff can be a big factor when you start looking at these games and you think, oh, this isn't a travel, this isn't a carry, oh, that's a 3-second violation, things like that. Completely different way that they're playing with these international rules, and it is affecting the rhythm of some of these players. Some a guy that you would see, let's take Santi Aldama from the Spain team, for example. You think that normally he's a guy that score 5 points on average in the NBA, and that's not a lot in terms of stats because we're all stat heavy through apps like X and etc. Right? We're more focused on the numbers because those are the things that get us cash money. We want to know what the over under is. But a guy like Santi Aldama knows that he can run the floor, spread it, and he can play a little bit more Spanish basketball, more international basketball. He can run out because he's a guy that's good on the corners for a couple of 3-pointers. He knows how to slash and cut inside, and he can go off for 17 in these because he knows how to score because the scoring style, the format, the way that these games are called fits more of his game and what he's used to. And that's the same thing for Greece. Okay? The same way that they could play. And when you're going from the way that we play in the NBA to this Canadian team when they're going to be playing in these Olympics games, those guys could probably sleep on it and then get thrown off a bit in the rhythm. So we'll see. I think I'm going to take the underdog. I'm taking Greece in this game to win that game, but we'll see. So for Group B, game that's coming up in just a bit, I'm taking Brazil. Yo, what's up, Pete? Hey, appreciate you coming on the show, bro. We're taking Brazil. That's tipping off in 15 minutes for the Olympics. And then for the game that's happening at noon local time, okay? That's 12 local time. Greece versus Canada. I'm taking Greece. But we'll see what happens. In that Greece versus Canada game, by the way, 13-point favorites for Canada. 13 in an Olympic game. That means they think that Greece sucks, okay? I may be out of my mind. Maybe you'll bet on the plus for that. Yeah, of course. Of course, yes. Hot take. Yeah, of course you'd take Canada. Yeah, all the Canadians all the way. Let's sing the song. Oh, by the way, if any of you did not watch the opening ceremony, Celine Dion killed it. Absolutely smashed it. Okay? Brought tears to my eyes. I thought my daughter was going to cry. She's not 2 yet. She doesn't understand what the seriousness of the moment means. But I couldn't stress this any less. You guys need to tune into these games because sleeping on any team is absolutely going to be the devastation of your timeline. You're going to wake up, your timeline is going to be blown up, and you're not going to know why. At least put them on record or something like that. Okay. Take a sip of coffee. Cheers, y'all. If there's any player, if there's any team, if there's any questions that you guys have as far as these Olympics are going on, I got the notes. I got the recaps. You guys let me know. You put them in the chat right here. We're just going solo on YouTube, going solo dolo, and we're going to go back and look at this show later. Now let's do something near and dear to my wallet. Let's talk about some betting today. Yeah, let's get that money, baby. Okay, so for those of you guys that are on some of these apps, I'm using Prize Picks. There is a free play out there for Prize Picks right now on points for LeBron James for tomorrow's game. It's a half a point, so it's basically a free square. I suggest you guys get out there and take it because we all know that he's going to score. That's absolutely apparent for these games. First game is going to be versus Serbia. I had that up in the post from X, so make sure you guys go check that out there. We're going to be posting what some of these tickets are that we're going to be building up for these Olympic Games. Let's take a look at, first off, the games themselves that are coming up. Again, you got France versus Brazil coming up for the first game. For those of you that didn't wake up at 2 this morning, early game. Hot takes said LeBron overrated. Yeah, we'll see how overrated he is when he comes dunks on someone's head in that game tomorrow afternoon. France versus Brazil. So they got the line set at on, and this is the other app that I'm on, is Fliff. Line set at 157.5. which is when you're talking about the numbers, games are sitting there at about anywhere between 75 and 95 for all teams as far as the totals are concerned. So that 160-ish line is not that far-fetched. It's just a question of how much teams are going to hold back. And it's Brazil versus France, and it's a question of how efficient Brazil can be in scoring the ball overall, because France is good inside and outside. Mostly we're looking at their France's interior defense, which can affect Brazil's score greatly. We've seen one double-digit loss already with Germany versus Japan. So as far as the point total is concerned, you could bet the under for this time around. I know it's opening game, and all teams are warm. All teams are coming out hot. Average for both games for the first half has been around the low 40s range, so about 41, 40. And the teams have like kind of blitzed in the second half because they're open a lot more free. They're used to the game. They make their adjustments. So for the total, I'm going under for this one. So we're just going to go ahead and build that ticket right now. Under for the point total. And then for the spread right now for Brazil France is 10. That's not too far-fetched of a line. I actually got it at 9.5. Because I just think that Brazil can sneak in and make this a little bit more of a game, make this a little bit muddy if they can keep the game at a slower pace. A slower pace would also feed into the under, so that's 9.5, and now just jump back to 9.5 right now. So if you're on Fliff, or if you're on any other app that's giving you team totals and you see that 9.5, I would definitely take that 9.5. And Hot Take says, taking the under every game until proven otherwise. Too much talent out there in Olympics. It's actually a smart way to go. I personally feel taking the under because several things can happen. The star scorer can foul out easy, because what's apparent is either the most veteran player or the proverbial scorer is going to be the primary ball handler for a lot of these teams, not named the U.S. or Canada, because we know who the primary ball handlers are going to be for those guys. Or Germany, because we know that Schroeder, sorry. But that would lead to turnovers, possible players trying to get back, and just fouling to try to prevent fast break points. So your favorite player could, the most high scorer could foul out, and that could completely change the outlook of the game overall. So yeah, smash the under. If that's a strategy you're going with, it's a good strategy. Build a couple of two team tickets. Don't go too freaky with it, because again, this round robin play is absolutely madness. Okay, absolute madness. And as far as lines are concerned, not seeing anything really be given as far as players are concerned. A lot of apps are concerned most about like who's going to score what. For that Brazil-France game, of course, they got Evan Fournier as one of your possible scorers. Right now, lines for him is 11.5. He's a mid-range jump shooter, a three-point shooter. Can Brazil guard that? I think they can. I think that the under isn't too far-fetched. I think taking Hot Takes approach to under on all the players, minus that free square that we talked about just a second ago. Take full advantage of that. Would be a smart thing to do. Under 11.5 on Evan Fournier. Rudy Gobert sitting at 11.5 points right now. And if you haven't been paying attention, Rudy Gobert has actually been scoring pretty decently in the exhibition games. It might be his best chance to hit the over. So if you're building squares on Prize Picks, or if you're taking the line as far as player props for points, 50-50 on that one. And I think it's trending towards the under right now, just because it looks like France is definitely feeding the ball a lot more through Wemby, definitely pounding inside. And Wembanyama is the tallest player in this tournament, I believe. So they're definitely just going to keep trying to go over the top on them. It has worked for teams in the past, in past Olympics. Go for it. Smash that under for just about everyone. I mentioned a player earlier in Marcelinho Huertas, who's playing for Team Brazil. His points are at 10.5. They're definitely going to be trying to feed the ball to him. I would be hesitant to go on the over because I don't know how good the defense is as far as the backcourt is concerned for France. It is possible that Huertas could get shut out. Guards and captains for teams have been getting shut out. It's been a little bit crazy. So 10.5, while it seems like a very low amount as far as NBA is concerned for these Olympics, you might not be wrong by taking the under on Marcelinho Huertas. That game again tips off in 8 minutes, and I'm not missing that one. I'm putting that one on here. We're not playing this there for licensing purposes, but definitely putting that on. For the later game of Canada versus Greece, that game, the point total is 170.5, and it might be the one game where it might be the over, where both teams just say, you know what, let's just warm up for the tournament. We got NBA guys here. Let's go have some fun, score a lot of points, get the game nice, early and flowing. First half, maybe throw a little 50 banger out there for both teams, and then just completely just keep shooting the lights out later on. SGA is slated at 22.5 points for Canada. I think that's a little high, even for SGA, as talented as he is, as much as he's been scoring. I might go the under for him because that is a high point total. I don't think any player, in fact, has that point total. Nope, I take that back. Giannis is at 25.5. So corrected there already. Building a ticket. We're actually going to build this right now. I'm going to go ahead and give that to you. Under on the points on SGA. On the other side, Giannis at 25.5. You're going to need every single one of those points from him. I just don't think it's going to be 25.5. It could come very close. It could be 25 with a couple of free throws. Hot take saying under. We're saying the under on Giannis, right? Or is that under on SGA? Over on Giannis, under on SGA. We're going to go ahead and put that up there so that way you guys at home can see it. If you're rewatching the show, of course, you won't get a chance to get these bets, but we're going to talk about some stuff happening tomorrow, too, in just a second. RJ Barrett at 14.5 could be the one. Could be the one for the over. We talked about the captain, Georgios Papagiannis for Team Greece. He is their center. Excuse my. Hey, don't worry about the spelling. We know who we're talking about. We're good here. Georgios Papagiannis for this Canada versus Greece game at 9.5. Dylan Brooks is at 11. And that is all I can see as players to bet on Georgios. First game versus Canada. Here's the thing. The Canadian team features guys in the middle like Kelly Olynyk and Alexander Walker, don't forget, he's a really big defensive guy. We saw what he could do in this past playoffs. Okay, now hot takes trolling. He said I like Brooks for 7 fouls. I think that it's going to be a little bit difficult in the first half. Canada's going to throw out a lot of blitzes. There might be, and as much as you're joking about that 7 fouls thing, this might be a very physical game to start out with. Like I said, it could be one of two things. It could be a 50 bagger, it could be a free throw line. The first game this morning was a little bit under an hour and a half. The second game was almost 2 hours. Okay, marching to the free throw line, Germany did. So it's possible that it could be a little bit slower and it could be more high scoring because teams are just finding ways to take advantage of the current rules and get to the free throw line. I built a little four square for that one game for the Greece game. We did the under on SGA. We're going with hot takes take for Giannis over on 25.5 points because they may need all of them. RJ Barrett, this might break the entire ticket, but let's go ahead and over 14.5. And then Georgios Papagiannis, let's just go under on the 9.5. I might double up and flip those later, but we're gonna go ahead and flex those guys just to play that ticket and see if we can come out with something out of that because we're only gonna need 3 to cash. 4 would bag it, but let's just do the 3 to cash to be safe because we don't know which one of those is going to be the X factor to either save it or break that ticket. And then as far as the game is concerned, again, it's Canada versus Greece. Right now it's listed at spread as 7. So a lot has changed in the past 10 minutes that we've been talking about these guys. So now the spread is 7 to Canada versus Greece. So as you can see with these games like starting to heat up and they're starting to see exactly what's up and who's available, Greece is not to be taken lightly. I would put that's +7 on Greece. And Canada is at -7. So I'm taking the ticket for building it with Greece at a +7. If you're going with hot takes, the under is not too bad of an idea, but I'm going to over on this one for a same game play. Greece at +7 and over for the point total at 170.5. Let me know how you guys did, what you guys did as far as your tickets are concerned. That would be greatly appreciated. How you're loving these Olympics. Leave them in the comments below. You can come DM me. You can send me anything that you guys are particularly interested in. Let me know. That does it for today's games. We got to talk about tomorrow's games because I know all y'all care about, those that are tuning in locally from the States, is when is USA and Serbia going to tip off? And, well, that's going to be at 8:15 tomorrow morning. I'm going to be on a plane. I'm going to be on a plane watching this. I'm looking at the updates right now for this game. Okay, we're getting this tip off right now, so let's just go ahead and jump into tip off. Tomorrow's games, again, USA versus Serbia, 8:15 in the morning local time, which is absolutely great for some of you guys. You're already tuning into this show at that time. So that for Eastern Standard Time is going to be 11:15 in the morning. That's brunch time. You guys have already had your mimosas or your coffee. Get up, watch this game. Super important. It is about as important as this Greece versus Canada game today. Probably more important because it's, again, let's just go ahead and call it what it is. The Lakers are playing Jokic one more time. Yo, what up, JC? I think it's good morning still for you, sir. Thanks for jumping in here for a hot second. We're talking about tomorrow's Olympic Games, some possible bets. Don't forget that free square out there on Prize Picks for points for LeBron James. Hot Take says USA is winning by 7. I don't know about winning by 7. We're going to talk about that game in just a second. why it might be a trap game for you guys betting that game. Is going to be a lot closer than you think. But also, don't forget, while we have a second, that if you are also making your bets and you're tuned into the sports affiliation, don't forget to go over to the Bettors app, which is sponsor of the sports affiliation, where you can enter your code TSA bets, where Bettors app will match your deposit up to $100. That is the Bettors app, and don't forget the promo code TSA bets on drafters.com. There's a little banner down there, so that way you guys remember that. Don't forget that, please. We're going to be leaving that on. That is where you can do also your best ball, which JC, who decided to grace us with his presence for a hot second, is doing Drafters After Dark. If you are tuning in to don't forget to go to the Drafters app. You can download that to your phones. Drafters After Dark. Don't forget to tune into that as well, where they are building their fantasy teams. I know we talked about that early on, but you can also get other bets in there as well. Remember, the code is TSA bets. Okay, so again, games tomorrow: USA versus Serbia. Let's just go ahead and jump to that game because I know that's all you guys really care about. Right now, the point spread is y'all tripping. Okay, the spread is 13.5 for USA. Don't bet that 13.5. Don't bet that 13.5. Okay, I took Serbia a plus 13.5 simply because Serbia lost to US by double digits after a back-to-back. The US was completely fresh. Serbia was played slow, early foul trouble, all kinds of stuff. Serbia is just a little bit too physical on the guard end, and US sometimes gets a little bit too cute. There's questions about the lineup right now, about who's starting over whom. We actually went into depth about that Sunday about why this game is a possible trap game. And now that I think about it, this USA winning by 7, this USA winning by 7 might not be such a bad take after all. Which is why at that 13.5, you want to take that Serbia, the Serbia points. The point total for that game, 181.5. I don't know if that means there is going to be decent defense and everyone's just going to be scoring the ball highly. That means both teams got to be at least in the 90s. This might be the biggest NBA game of the entire group play. 181.5. That's I don't know who's making these lines, bro, but that's an under right there. Under 181.5. Smashing that right now. JC says once basketball starts up, don't forget that on Drafters app, they're going to be drafting some best ball basketball, which I will be a part of this season. We're going to be rolling right from Olympics into NBA season, so make sure to stay tuned in for that. Appreciate the plug, JC. Much love to you. Let's get to some picks to build ticket for that individual game. Let's see here. Clear the board. Okay, so for tomorrow's game, again, you got the free play for LeBron James points. Let's go ahead and just pick that up right then and there. You also have playing tomorrow. Take your pick. Nikola Jokic at 19.5. Possible over because, well, for all intents and purposes, you know that he's a great passer. You know that the three-point shooting for Serbia is going to be there. Is it possible that he gives up his points for everyone else being able to score on the perimeter? Possible, but I'm going to end with the over. Steph Curry is listed at 14.5. Possible under because although Steph Curry has been hitting a couple of three-pointers here and there to basically be the glue for scoring bouts, like the U.S. goes on a drought the first half. And then LeBron will score a layup, Steph will score a 3, then AD will get in there, score a couple of buckets, and then everyone else starts to kind of fall in line, and then it's like a 15-0 run, which happens really quick. But it's not like Steph's out there doing his regular NBA thing where he's dribble penetration, dribble out, spot up, three-point splash, and it does that like 5 times. So 14.5. If you bet the under, it might not be a dumb idea to put the under on that. But we'll get back to that in a second. Bogdanovich, 16.5. He's one of the guards. Definitely not a bad idea to smash it over on that, because he's one of the more seasoned vets. You know that he's NBA talent right there. 16.5 is not a bad play. We're going to hold off on that because we also have Anthony Edwards at 13.5. He has been the scoring glue for the second unit and starting unit. He has been scoring glue. I'm going ahead and get the over on that. Anthony Davis for 12.5 versus Serbia. Here's the only problem I have with AD and scoring versus Serbia. They may get him in the foul trouble, and every time AD goes up for a basket and he feels a little bit of contact, he still has that NBA vibe in him where he goes, all right, you know, and he's not getting his calls, which slows his scoring opportunities down immensely. With the amount of, with how much the ball needs to be distributed, with the limited amount of touches that these games have, I don't know if I could do 12.5 for AD versus this team. If it were any other game in their group, I would definitely smash the over on that. But I'm gonna go the under on that. Nicola, we're just gonna go ahead 19.5. We're just gonna take a chance and then we're gonna pick the over. We're actually gonna do 6 players on this one. Joel Embiid is listed for 12 points. I'm going to stay away from Joel Embiid because I still don't understand him and his build and his speed in this lineup. Jason Tatum is listed at 9 points. Booker at 8.5, and that's because these guys score mainly on the perimeter. It's hard for them to get dribble penetration. Like Jason Tatum, his game is dribble penetration, spot up jump shots. His 3-point shot is just definitely not there for him to get that increased point volume. So 9 is a decent line for him, and it's possible that he scores less than that just because he has that experience from distributing the ball from his championship time in Boston. He's doing that a lot more now by deferring to guys like Ant, LeBron, Steph to score the ball. So that under is not too far-fetched. Booker just isn't getting the rhythm and getting the pieces. Hot Takes is taking the over. Okay, Hot Takes taking the over. Let's just go ahead and display that right now. You let me know, big man, how you do with your ticket on this. And I think that's all. That lists all of the players that you could possibly bet on so far. So let's go ahead and recap. So tomorrow's game for US versus Serbia. We got AD staying away from Embiid. He's doing the over on Tatum. I'll ride with you on that. We got Jokic on the over, AD on the under. I'm going to do the under on Bogdan, even though it's possible that he just completely annihilates us on the perimeter because we've had perimeter defense issues collectively. And then we'll post the play again under the video later on. We'll do a picture of it, and we'll also I'll repost this on my X so that way you guys can if you guys are following, tailing, whatever, you'll take that. The other game tomorrow is actually a game near and dear to everyone's heart, and that is going to be South Sudan versus I believe is that Puerto Rico? Big PR featuring Jose Alvarado. Yeah, so nope, I'll take that back. Yep, nope, I was right. Yeah, South Sudan versus Puerto Rico, and the whole backstory behind South Sudan, them coming together as a team. Comments being made by a guy named Gilbert Arenas, who we all refer to as Agent Zero. I'm just gonna call him Zero from now on because he's acting like one. Speaking about a South Sudanese team that has done a lot to not only qualify but to be part of these Olympic Games. despite them being a young budding country that's getting their stuff together, they're coming together as a country collectively over basketball, and that's one of the best stories that you can ever hear about basketball globally, period. So that's one way to root for them. You got Puerto Rico, who has got a couple of NBA guys on that team. Again, I mentioned Jose Alvarado. We're just going to go through some of the lineup on that in just a second. Sorry, guys, I'm also checking into my flight at the same time. It's a little bit of a, so leaving super early tomorrow. If you guys are interested, I'm just going cross country, family reunion. You know how it goes. We're going to do this real quick. And don't worry, we got a little bit more time. View manage. View manage. Let's check in for our flights in 4 minutes. As soon as we get out of here, I'm checking into my flight, y'all. Don't worry, I won't miss it. I got too much riding on it. Like the flight back. Bap. Okay, we're out of there. Thing about Tatum is I think Jokic shuts down the big man and the wings have to score. Well, yeah. Defensively, no. Okay, so one thing about Serbia, the one thing that we need to go ahead and throw out the way is that I know I joked about it, that it's like the Lakers versus Jokic again, but Jokic's primary role in that team is getting good matchups in the post. Like when he goes and gets posted up against AD, he's gonna go strong. But when he gets posted up against Embiid, he's not gonna go up strong. He's gonna pass it out because when Embiid is down, Embiid can't go out and help in the spacing. So is much better chance to do exactly like you said, to pass out and get help on the wings. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. His presence, yes. But Jokic isn't defending, or Jokic isn't going to be, is not the space taker that we think he is for these games. In the NBA, if it was NBA, I say yes, absolutely. But the ball is moving. Again, if you guys are watching these games, the way that these live games are being played, the ball is moving left to right. It's so erratic in that first half that it's almost a detriment to guys like Embiid and Jokic. Sorry, I got to jump back to this South Sudan Puerto Rico game, which is coming up tomorrow, which actually is the first game. Gonna go through South Sudan's lineup real quick. Again, if you guys haven't been tuned into that, Cool Bull. Yo, what up, Sleazeball? Thanks for jumping in. We're just wrapping up here. Talk about some Olympic bets, Olympic play for tomorrow. Just went through U.S. versus Serbia, which is going to be the big game. Dang Majok, who was absolutely tearing it up. You got JT Thor and Way and Gabriel. We all know what those guys can do. Guy named Carlick Jones, who is a coach turned player. You guys, South Sudan is going to be playing a super physical game tomorrow, and Puerto Rico plays very, very fast. Puerto Rico lineup: Jose Alvarado, Steve Thompson Jr., smash this like. Yeah, don't forget to smash the like, subscribe to the channel. We're going to wrap this up here in just a minute. There's so much going on as far as this Olympic play. That game is actually a 1 point difference. If when we're talking about the betting, we already said take the points, take the spread for Serbia tomorrow, because that was at 13.5 if you can get it. Appreciate you, JC. Love that. For this game, since it's a toss-up, you can't go wrong with either team. I'm picking South Sudan, not because just of the backstory or anything like that, but because of how physically they came out and how focused they came out versus the United States. If they can continue that versus Puerto Rico, I strongly believe that they can win that game. Again, in that group, there are teams that could basically shock the heck out of United States and Serbia. Physicality, understanding the rules, and taking full advantage of every single possession is going to get a team out of the group play and into the quarterfinals. That's all there is to it. So in these first games, it's imperative that if you guys want some talking points, if you guys want to say I've been there, I know who's going to bring what and how teams can win or can't win, watch these first games, rewatch these first games, study them with, go through them with a fine-tooth comb. Gotta check in. I got 4 minutes to check in. Okay, we're good. Yeah, I have 4 minutes to check in. So yeah, and as far as full betting knowledge for the games going forward, again, it's imperative that you guys make sure to watch these first games so that way you know who's going to be the guy that's going to be scoring, who's going to be the guy that's going to be defending, how you can place your player props, etc., etc. So we built tickets today. We said you can go either way with Sudan and Puerto Rico tomorrow. I'm picking Sudan. The money line and taking the points for Serbia tomorrow, 2-game ticket. Player props really aren't there, so we're just going to stay away from those for that game. Built the 6-player ticket for U.S. versus Serbia. We're going to post that in a bit. It's all points, so we got some overs, we got some unders. We'll post that in a bit. As far as the game is concerned, it's at, we said 8:15 Pacific time, which you add or subtract whatever the difference is from Pacific time to whatever your time is to know what time that game jumps off. Super important to watch that game. Got 2 games. Got my game which I need to pop over with right now. Flipping between like 7 different screens and 2 different apps to watch Brazil versus France, which that game is, oh my gosh. Brazil is up by 7 points right now. I fucking told you guys. I told you, man. Let's go, Brazil. Took Brazil in this game for the money line, and we built the ticket from a couple players from there. Talked about that again later. The premier game, the peak game today, the last game today is Greece versus Canada. We're going to be posting all this stuff up in a little bit, guys. So if you guys are tailing, great. If you guys have got them tuned in here, appreciate you. Let us know how you did. The game's tomorrow, going to be fire. And we're going to be talking more Olympic basketball when I get back from all this nonsense, which is going to be next Sunday, okay? So no show tomorrow. We're going to be posting all week. Make sure you follow us at the Sports Affiliation. You follow me at 4F Apollo on X. You subscribe to this channel here at the Sports Affiliation. You tune in Sunday, 7:30 Pacific Standard Time. If anything changes, you have to be subscribing. You have to watch. You have to know when we're going to be making those changes, because I'm sure today, like the Olympics, caught a lot of people by surprise. And now y'all waking up to, oh my gosh, what is happening with these Olympics? How did Japan lose by double digits? What exactly is going on with Germany? Subscribe, like, love you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. I got to get out of this sweaty room because I got to go check in for my flight. Y'all take care. It's been a pleasure. Peace.